Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to Dictember. This is a BookTube event created by Mark at Book Time with Elvis, and Sean D. Standfast and Michael K. Vaughn and I are all co-hosts, and it's dedicated to celebrating private dicks, private eyes, private investigators. I view it as an affectionate adjunct to the venerable March Mystery Madness, because March Mystery Madness is half a year away, and I love murder mysteries. I love talking about them. So another event, especially one dealing with such a key part of murder mysteries, was welcomed by me. I jumped in. And I've been having a blast. I haven't been making as many videos as I should, but I've been reading an enormous amount and having just a wonderful time. Reading and also, thinking about what it is that we mean about private eye fiction, what disqualifies, what are odd twists or turns, what might constitute an innovation. And I want to talk about just one book very briefly today. This is by Gladys Mitchell, and it is Groaning, Spinney. And it's a Mrs. Bradley adventure. She and her waspish, snappish secretary are the crime-solving team here. Although Mrs. Bradley has an imperious way about her. She's an older woman, a psychiatrist, and she has an imperious way about her that usually allows her to just tell the police what to do. I haven't read every Mrs. Bradley novel. I don't think I have. There are quite a few of them. I'm not sure if at any point Gladys Mitchell actually explains how Mrs. Bradley would be able to have such a commanding figure with the police. But it doesn't matter in the course of this novel anyway, because this novel takes Mrs. Bradley and her secretary out of their normal confines and into the Cotswolds, into the countryside, over the Christmas period. Her nephew and his wife have just bought a big house in a small village, and the house has all sorts of folklore attached to it, including the rumor of a resident ghost who doesn't appear happy and who often appears to reenact his own murder. But it largely seems like a friendly Christmas holiday is in the offing. If you're an established mystery fan, you know that's not true. You know that's not going to happen. And you'd think that after Mrs. Bradley, after her reputation spread as a crime-solving psychiatrist, you'd think that everybody connected with her would also know that it's never going to be a holiday without a dead body. But she goes, and she appears to be having fun. Some of the house guests, it's a big house, and the whole of the neighborhood is coming to pay their respects to the new owner. Some of those people she doesn't like. One in particular, she takes an instant, visceral dislike to one in particular, which is worth paying attention to because Mrs. Bradley's instincts about people are infallible. It's one of the kind of operating principles of the Mrs. Bradley mysteries is that her brand of psychiatry is very adversarial. There's nothing pleasant or healing about it. And she herself is not a pleasant character. Gladys Mitchell goes out of her way over and over again in every Mrs. Bradley novel to describe her as reptilian, crocodilian, that she has yellowy parchment-like skin and a horrible fanged smile. She's not, in other words, Miss Marple. She's not a kindly old lady. And there's a point to that. Gladys Mitchell took a great deal of fun in poking fun at Agatha Christie, at all of her gimmicks, at all of her endings. I don't know that I would call Groaning, Spinney from front to back a parody, but Gladys Mitchell did write Mrs. Bradley stories that were front to back parodies of Agatha Christie, and that are delightful. But you really have to be in the know. You have to know Agatha Christie novels fairly well to get the jokes are exquisite. There's not all that much humor in here, but the Mrs. Bradley novels are never without it. They are so mean. They're so fundamentally unkind in a joking kind of way. Now, I would argue that the Miss Marple novels are also mean. Quite a few of them. Very mean. There's a mean worldview evinced in them. I myself think that it's Agatha Christie's own worldview. I think if you threw a bucket of water in her face and said, "Hey, do you realize that you're portraying Miss Marple as a mean-spirited old spinster?" she would say, old, yes, spinster, yes, but mean-spirited? No, I don't think she knew it. Uh, Gladys Mitchell very much knows it. She's in complete command of what she's doing. I admit that she pushes some of the wrong buttons with me. I love the way she tells a story, but Groaning Spinney is a really good example of some of the chicanery that she does as a novelist. Because she lampoons the other Golden Age novelists, the other Golden Age murder mystery novelists, she often discards the rules that they operated by. Every March Mystery Madness, we go over those rules. And one of the entrenched rules there in that decalogue that we go over every year is that the supernatural cannot play any part in a murder mystery, because the supernatural is not quantifiable, it's not commandable, it's not predictable. So you could make any solution to a whodunit work out if you employ the supernatural. If it's a legitimate detail, a working system in your novel, then what good does that do to anybody to solve crimes or put two and two together? And Gladys Mitchell, she's perfectly happy to have, for instance, not to spoil anything, but for instance, as a hypothetical, she would be perfectly happy to have the local specter haunting a neighborhood manor be an actual specter and have a part to play in the climax of the novel. She'd be perfectly happy to do that. Wouldn't be much for her to do that. So you have to know what you're getting into with the Mrs. Bradley novels. You're getting a protagonist that you're going to like in spite of herself. I like both Mrs. Bradley and her secretary. I think they're just a wonderful breath of fresh air, especially from Golden Age murder mysteries. They're just anywhere. I don't know what happened to Gladys Mitchell. I don't know what happened to her. I don't think I've ever stalked her in a bookstore, so I don't think she's ever had a popular run of paperbacks in the last 30 years. Somebody might be printing her somewhere. It'd be a terrible shame if they weren't, just like a few other authors I've mentioned in Dictember. I don't know what you would do with a novel like Groaning Spinney. It's so delightful, but I don't know where you would find its audience. You would have to sort of teach its audience to like it. Certainly, Agatha Christie fans who haven't read this author are missing out on something, because there's a dialogue going on there. Not just Agatha Christie, lots of others, but mainly Christie. But also a wonderful kind of, what's the word that I want? Mean-spirited probably isn't accurate, because Gladys Mitchell wasn't mean-spirited at all. Snarky might be a good word. I wasn't thinking of it right away because it's not her time period at all. The early part of the 20th century is not the word. Snarky is probably good. These books are wonderfully snarky and unapologetic. They don't pull punches. They don't have much in the way of sympathy for any of their characters. I always like something like that. You get that a lot, for instance, in Robert Van Gulik's Judge Dee mysteries. But these are even more pointed, and of course, they are better written. These are wonderfully enjoyable to read. So that's my my book for Dictember. Our house Dick this time, our private eye, does work for money. She has a prosperous practice as a psychiatrist, but she also takes fees for her cases sometimes. And she's not likable. She's sort of a ragged-edged version of sweet, kind Miss Marple knitting off in the corner. She's more formidable by far, but very enjoyable. I don't think I had ever read Groaning Spinney before. I've read some others, but I don't think I'd ever read this. So that was wonderful to do. It was absolutely a lot of fun. So that's my my Dictember for today. I once again, if we have prompts for Dictember, I have long since forgotten them, so I will just keep reading private eye stories for the rest of September. And I hope that I don't drop the ball for video making again quite so bad. So I will be back with my next choice. Thank you, BookTube.